What up, y'all? I am just getting in from work. It's late Friday night after midnight. I hope everybody is doing well. We're here for our weekend reading. So it really follows the theme of this week. I don't know if you guys have had any uncomfortable confrontations or unpleasant messages or any kind of like conflict in your exchanges, but apparently, according to, it's so funny, every time I go through a test, as soon as I'm on the other side of it, like hours later, sometimes within the same day, sometimes like the next day or whatever, I'll learn about that particular thing from like a Kabbalah class or like a piece of content that the Kabbalah Center will put out, and it's apparently like the theme of the week. Like there is sort of an energy that is over every week of the year, and it coincides with a certain portion of the Zohar. The Zohar is the deepest, most spiritual interpretation of the Torah. So there's this daily portion that you read every day throughout the year in these ordered steps. And so each week has these themes that we learn from every year. So apparently part of the Pisces new moon and the theme that was going on this week was that there may have been an upset or something that made you sad or hurt your feelings that someone did or said. And if that happened to you, then I guess we are right on time as spiritual students. So it was kind of a test, and I'm hoping that nobody has done anything too reactive. Hopefully we've been able to rein it in and maintain control of ourselves. But basically this week has been all about practicing that restriction so that we don't act out in a reactive state while we're triggered and go into a default setting and go into one of those old patterns, right? Go into some sort of negative retaliation, whether that be affirming that person had a negative effect on you and reaffirming that to them, whether you are confronting them in your anger or whatever, what have you. I think what we need to do is just not say anything. Because it's very difficult when someone has hurt your feelings to proactively meet that moment if you haven't fully processed the feelings yet, right? So we're not in a neutral state. I also feel that part of this test is very poignant because we are like on the precipice of huge wins and big victories and big breakthroughs. And so we talk about this a lot. It never gets old to talk about it because we need constant reminders that every time we up level, our opponent is right there with us, ready, up leveled with us, ready to continue to antagonize us. So one of the tricks of the opponent, like the opponent's objective is to block us from our success, right? He wants to block us, she, because there's both energies of the opponent. There's the female opponent and the male opponent. They want to block our success. They want to block our spiritual transformation. They want to block our purpose in this world and our gifts and our talents, right? Because that's their job. So one of the things that blocks our blessings the most effectively is a sour, hard heart. If you're upset, if you're hurt, if you're angry, shut your heart down. If you're in judgment, if you're projecting, if you're sour, bitter, holding on to a grudge, it shuts your heart down, closes you off, closes your vessel. It not only turns off your magnet to where you're not even magnetic, but it also closes the lid on your vessel. You can't receive because you're in a completely self-centered state, right? And so by retaliating, you're only wanting to pacify your flesh, and you're receiving for your own self. You're wanting to receive that justification, that righteousness, that validation, right? Don't do it. You're better off to keep your hands clean, right? We've worked so hard to purify ourselves, to prepare ourselves to receive these blessings, this up level. So the last thing that we want to do is pop off at the mouth or, retaliate at someone and block our blessing with a bunch of anger, right? And you don't want to put yourself in the way of a bunch of passive evil eye and evil tongue either, right? When people have anger at you and jealousy and whatnot, that sends negative energy to you. That's why I wear a red string bracelet. It's part of the protection is not just to remind me not to do evil tongue, not to have evil eye, but it also protects me from incoming evil eye and evil tongue. And evil eye is when people are jealous or covetous of you, or even a passive evil eye is when someone is worried about you, but they're generating negative energy towards you. And it's not benign. Evil tongue is when people talk about you, whether good or bad. That, like, having your name in their mouth, it like puts energy and focus on you in a negative way. And so that's why we're always purifying our energy and trying to counteract this and counterbalance it. The thing is, when you do evil tongue, when you gossip, when you talk about people, when you spread slander or lies, it opens you up for judgment and chaos as well. So it's a negative energy that you're putting out either way. So yes, the devil, the opponent, is going to try to trick you and do all kinds of things to jack up your vibration so that we can't receive these blessings that are coming in, so that we don't receive our next level of success and our next level of our up level, right? So I hope that we've all been able to just bite our tongue this week and choose peace, because to finish the week, it's basically circling back and reinforcing this. From the Vintage Wisdom Oracle, we got intention, we got peace, we've got innocence. We all see where this is going, don't we? And we have intuition. We all saw where this was going. So basically, just from our oracle cards, set your intention to inner peace. The thing that we've been practicing the past several months and trying to learn how to do, maybe even for the past year, and this is really, we're going to implement this year. Our practice is to be able to set our vibration like a thermostat and hold it. The discipline is to try to maintain your chosen state of being regardless of the circumstances around you. That is having affinity with the light of the Creator, because the light of the Creator is endless. It's eternal. It's perpetual. It's unwavering. It doesn't stop and go. It doesn't gush and then trickle. It is even, nonstop, ongoing, ever flowing, right? So we want to get in a state of unchanging, nonstop, ever flowing, because the more powerful and consistent your vibration is, the more consistent and solid your vibration is, less up and down, back and forth, in and out, the more consistent it is, the more powerful and influential you are on your environment and everything in it, including the people. So we are choosing peace. We are setting our radio dial to peace. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done. The kingdom of heaven is at hand. It is here in the present moment. It is being in the moment, surrendered, relaxed, and accepting the isness of now. It is not worrying about the future. It is not bemoaning the past. The kingdom of heaven is now and here. What that is a state of consciousness that allows you to live in peace, in fulfillment, feeling satisfied, feeling love, feeling goodness, feeling at ease. And that is something that you have to cultivate through following the steps of Christ consciousness, right? We have to go back and pay attention. What was Jesus telling us? What was he talking about all that time? What was he trying to tell people to do? He wasn't really telling people to do. He was speaking cryptically to them so that they could discover for themselves. It's like, it's only when you have your own epiphany, your own wake up moment from the inside that it really clicks, that it really turns on. So that's why he was never just like going around just like flat out saying it. I mean, sometimes he tried to and people still didn't understand what he was saying. He was like, all right, be well. And they're like, well, what do you mean? And he's like, I mean, just like be well. Like, according to your faith, it is done unto you. And you're like, I don't understand. And he's like, well, that's the point. That's the problem. So set your dial to peace, right? Don't let your opponent rob you of your blessings by jacking up your peace, right? We're learning to cultivate that within and hold it. Part of how we're going to do that is that no matter how justified and righteous we are in our anger towards these people who are trying to step, they're trying to be haters, they're trying to play. I don't have time to be full with you. I understand this. I am pissed off too. I'm trying to work through my own process. But we have to choose to see these other people as innocents. We have to find their innocence so that we can remain innocent. Because if we don't, our judgment is going to soil our hands and taint our vibration, and then throw us out of a state of appreciation, out of a state of abundance, into a state of fear, lack, doubt, judgment, projection, prejudice, pride, hubris. So we need to search within ourselves, search within our hearts, search within the situation that even though what somebody said or did to you may have been super shitty, try to look at the hurt child within them that did it, right? Ignore the fact that they're, they probably know better, or that they probably had a mean agenda underneath it, or even a mean agenda that they weren't even consciously aware of. Maybe it's their insecurity causing them to be reactive towards you. It probably is, right? You're probably very triggering to someone who doesn't have the same kind of inner stability that you do, because they can feel that power coming off of you and it makes them feel insecure. It makes them feel naked. So choose to see them innocently, and it will also establish your innocence as well. And use your intuition about this. The Holy Spirit sits on this, I believe it's Isis's shoulder here. So turn inward, be led. There may be a time and a place for you to speak up for yourself, but it can't be right now. It can't be fresh in the moment. It has to be later when there's no trigger, when the moment has passed and it's not fresh and it's not going to cause chaos right now, right? By the time you get around to maybe addressing it, it may have just sorted itself out. There's some really great steps that you can take. It's like proactive confrontation according to the steps of Kabbalah. And before you confront anyone, you need to first take responsibility for your side of the road, for all of your consciousness, for all of your shadow. Go in and really look and search deep. Even when people say bad things about you, there's always, like, the Kabbalistic mindset is to say, okay, thanks. Even though that's probably not true, or it may not be, let's pretend that the Creator wanted you to say that to me. without getting caught up in the story of it, what might be the message for me? How can I turn this into a growth moment, or what can I learn, or how from this situation, or how can I make this situation make me stronger or help me heal something in myself? What is it pointing out to me? So another thing I learned in my Kabbalah class today, this was actually one of my teacher David's deep wisdom classes. This was leading up to, it was commentary on the new moon of Pisces, and also the holiday of Purim, that they were talking about the sages and the prophets they knew that when people really respected them a whole lot and started making a big deal out of them, like when they would become famous for being like a famous mystic or a famous sage or a famous prophet, when they get famous and people would like go crazy over them and make a big deal about them because they had so much respect for them, they would know that that was actually a curse and not a blessing, because the body consciousness loves for people to be proud of them. It loves admiration. And so it destroys your humility and it builds up your false pride, right? And so there was a story of one of the sages, I'm not sure if it was the RE, I can't remember which Sadiq it was, but he was going to teach in a town, and they made a huge big deal about receiving him, and they meant well, but he was like, I can't speak now because it's gonna only unleash chaos, because now they've lifted me up and idolized me and like made a big deal out of it, and so now it's like it would only taint me and them too for me to speak it, for me to, you know, acknowledge this kind of treatment. So it was actually considered a blessing when people would disrespect you. And they would cut, like literally, this is what my teacher David was saying. And if you guys like have watched, like if you're regular watchers, you know I've had an experience this week that was very unpleasant, that has to do with being disrespected pretty poignantly. And David was like, if someone is like being like really shitty and like disrespecting you and defaming you, it's actually a blessing from the Creator. It means that you're like a really high up sage, and that you're like an elevated soul that the Spirit is trying to protect through people's harsh words. Because when people publicly humiliate you or talk bad about you or slander you, it also purifies your negativity. Remember, like, I'm just going to point out my little scales back there. So see the scales over here? Remember we talked about how when we're born in this life, we all have like our own positivity and negativity. And so during our life, our positive actions help purify our negativity, and it puts more light on the positive side, right? But our negative actions take that light and put it back on the negative side. So we're always in this balancing act here. And so when people speak ill of you, or you go through like pain and humiliation, that actually purifies a lot of your negativity and puts the light back on the positive side. So it's actually a blessing. So be really grateful. And if you can remember that in the moment and be grateful for it and not get upset. So it's like, not only are you already getting the score of getting your negativity removed, if you can catch yourself in the midst of it and not be reactive, you get extra points. And if you call now, and if you're actually happy about it and grateful, you get like exponential points. So thank you for all of your slander. Thank you for your hate mail. Thank you, trolls. Thank you for helping me, trolls. Okay, so under intention, we got Hermit. Under peace, we had Five of Swords. Under innocence, we have the Magician. And under intention, we have King of Wands. So, I mean, the Hermit, all of this goes so perfectly. It's like, turn inward, find it within yourself to find the strength to set your intention and hold it. Set your intention for peace. Set your intention for forgiveness. Forgiveness will open up the blessing. A grudge will block the blessing. So go within, reflect on not only choosing forgiveness, but probably the subject in which came up is probably tied to something early in childhood that's trying to present itself out of your subconscious so that it can be healed and corrected. So that when we are moving forward into life the next season, starting in Aries season, we can go forward, fresh, new, different, free of the old habits and patterns and mindsets that we used to have, right? Free of those old insecurities or those old ghosts that haunted us, right? Free of grudges, of hard feelings, of shame, of guilt, of judgment. All of that feels so shitty carrying it around, and we don't want it anymore. And so that's why it's so important that we choose peace, because some fights just aren't worth winning, right? What happens when we win at all cost? Somebody loses, right? Like, is it worth it? Just because you're right, is it worth it? Is it worth the pain and the disruption and the separation it'll cause? The person that gave the initial attack didn't consider it. They just thought, I want to feel good. I'm going to attack this person so I can feel good. They didn't consider the damage that they were doing in the relationship, right? Maybe you've had it coming from multiple sources. If you're lucky, if you're really blessed. I have. It's been great. Attacked from all angles. And so these people aren't thinking about the consequences, but you are. We're pausing. We're considering what the cost really is. And so the cost for us is not only deepened separation and disruption, but it's costing us our blessing. Even just letting those instances affect me when they did, it almost took me out of work. Like, that costed me money. When someone's telling you, oh, you're not blessed because of this, you're cursed because of this, and then you're so upset that you can't like go into work, it's like, well, no, you just put the curse on me, actually. Everything was fine until you came in and threw shit all over me. So you see what I'm saying? Like, participating in that energy and continuing in it is only going to cause more shit. So choose to take your hands out of it. That's how it's going to be. That's how it's going to be. 2023 predictions playlist. I remember sitting there saying in February, it was let your nails dry January, and then we figured out, okay, this is how it's going to be February, right? Let it be. Don't say anything. Don't retaliate. Don't defend yourself. You don't owe anybody an explanation, to be quite honest. And usually it gets under people's skin more when you don't react to them. So let that give you a little satisfaction. Either way, the price that you will pay for your retaliation won't be worth it. It won't be worth it. You let God have vengeance. Your angels, if you ask them to get involved, they'll be quite happy to get involved. You ask God to help you, you take care of it. You deal with my enemies. You deal with my oppressors. You deal with my opponent. I am going to keep my hands clean. The universe can take care of this for me. My angels can take care of this for me. I am going to stay on the path of like righteousness and not soil myself with this garbage. The moment you can see the innocence in the other and forgive them, it's going to unblock the manifestation By you keeping your hands clean, you're unblocking your manifestation. And that could be all of your goals, all the things that you're working towards, right? Recently. This is the Magician coming up. You're equipped. You have everything it takes. Everything is at your fingertips and you're fully capable. It's just that right now, this is our test to see. Are you going to keep your hands clean? If so, you're going to keep your vibration intact in that consistency, because you're either resonating with things or you aren't. And so when people throw you off track, you're no longer in resonance with yourself. You're no longer in resonance with the things you're calling in. You're in resonance with anger, with lack, with fear, with projections, with judgment, shame and guilt. So stay out of those feelings, those mindsets. Choose innocence. Choose to be happy rather than right. Choose to be blessed rather than right. And finally, the King of Wands was under intuition. And so the King of Wands, I feel like he's coming up in two senses in this reading. For starters, the King of Wands can be harsh, overbearing, temperamental, heavy-handed. And so I feel like we've been on the receiving end of that kind of heavy-handedness. And we're very sensitive, very insensitive, intuitive, empathic people. And so when people are like this to us, it's very harsh. It's very hurtful. But if we can come out of this initiation, this test, this bridge, this portal, we'll come out on the other side with a new sense of self-worth, with a new sense of confidence and self-esteem and self-control. We'll have more passion and drive. And because of that, because we didn't spew our energy out in anger and waste it all, we've been growing our power inside of us. And you know what? Let that anger... You know what we did in the summer or last year? We started taking our fear and transmuting it into motivation, into inspiration, right? Into endurance. We're taking that anger, we're transmuting it, right? We're transmuting it into endurance, into determination, into passion towards our goal that no one can stop us from, right? When we are no longer affected by people who are trying to throw us off our game, we're bulletproof. We're unstoppable at that point, because it's like we can see everything coming from a mile away and we're like, nope, not going to do it. Nope, not going to do it. Putting the blinders on, keeping my vibration. Nothing is going to shake me out of this mindset, this mood, this intention. Nothing is more valuable than staying focused on my God-given purpose, using my God-given talents, living a life of heaven on earth, being kind and loving and accepting towards others, right? At the end of your life, do you think God's going to be like, did you defend your truth? Did you get out there and defend your truth at all costs? Or is he going to be more interested in the love that you spread? The love that you grew within you? The love that you had to cultivate from all the fear and the guilt and the shame that was left behind in your heart? All the work that you did to unload that and transmute it into gold, into love, into compassion, into understanding, into wisdom. That's what's important. It's how you treat people. It's kind of energy that you put out into the world. It's how people feel around you when they're with you that makes a difference. The feeling that you make people feel when they're with you is the thing that opens them up to believe, to have hope, to have faith. Not drilling in your truth and getting all your Bible verses right. There's a Bible verse that talks about like the clanging of cymbals, like versus the sweet aroma of smells. I don't know, I might be getting like different verses mixed in, but the point is that Christ wants to woo people in like a lover, not hammer it in like, I don't know, the freaking tyrant. Like, that's not like the heavy hand of truth. It's like, no, that's the clanging of gongs. That's like loud, harsh. It's not luring anybody in. It's just like making people subservient because they're afraid and they're guilty and they're shameful. And then there is no authentic relationship between you and the Creator. I mean, if you were like, think of the Creator as your lover and you're only with the Creator because you're terrified of what happens if you're not, is that real love? No, certainly isn't. So, let it go. Feel compassion for the people. Choose peace, even for just your own peace. It's not to excuse them. It's not to tell them it's okay. And it doesn't mean that you can't speak up for yourself at some point later, but I don't think that right now it's beneficial to do so. So choose innocence. Choose to believe in their innocence to protect your own. It also protects you from getting a jaded, sour heart, right? There's something very refreshing about someone with some innocence, some enthusiasm that's not completely jaded, you know, and facetious and hateful. All right, y'all. Don't forget, don't win at all costs. It's not going to be worth it. Turn inward. If you have to, isolate yourself strategically. Have some planned out, like good solitude, healthy solitude if you need to for a minute. Get some space. You know, no one can fault you if you need to put some distance and space between you and somebody else. Like, no one can fault you for silence. You haven't done anything. You haven't taken an action. You haven't said anything. Just keep your hands clean, right? When it's the right time, you'll know it. And, oh, that's right. We were going to talk about the four phases of confrontation. So, sorry I get so sidetracked all the time. No, I'm not. So at first you're going to check in and make sure that you get the message, not the story, but the message. Second, you want to start praying out loud to the Creator. Use your voice, right? God's love language is in the physical. So physically speak to God about this subject. Pour your heart out about everything about it for maybe 30 minutes. Like 30 minutes is a good amount of time. A lot of things in the Zohar talk about like when you scan the Hebrew letters and everything, they say it takes 30 minutes to break through the shells of negativity. Like when you stare at the Hanukkah lights, you're supposed to look at them or be near them at least for like 30 minutes because it takes 30 minutes to seep through that, you know, negativity and get into your surrounding light. So pray for like 30 minutes about this and then just let go. And if you can, give yourself 30 minutes to sit in meditation. And you may not get an answer then, or you may not feel differently quite then, but I think after you sit there in some quiet and then you just really let it go and you walk away, and you pray that the Creator will go before you and give that person an open heart, and that you will also be guided as to what exactly to say and how to say it, what should be left unsaid. So you basically pray for this whole situation, and pray for the Creator to speak on your behalf to this person before you ever get there. Prepare their heart, prepare the way. Then you want to visualize this happening, where you get into your mind and you visualize the conversation playing out with the person. So basically, you're kind of setting the intention that you're meeting soul to soul in the astrals, and you have the conversation there. And so right now, so far, you've changed your perspective and you've taken responsibility for your half, or you have done everything that you can to find something from the situation that you can use to be proactively healing yourself, be proactively rising to the occasion. This is going to be another thing that can help me ascend, right? Look for the positive that you can take from it to help yourself, to grow, right? To heal. Praying for a solution, praying for help with bringing union to this relationship through this conversation that needs to happen. Asking the Creator to go and do the work for you. And then practice actually have the conversation on a soul level with the person in your imagination in like a meditative state. See it all playing out in a positive, loving, kind way. And then leave it alone for a minute. And then after that, it may have sorted itself out. There may not be any more reason for you to have the confrontation. And before, even after all those steps, before you say anything physically, be sure that it's not going to fall on deaf ears. If you know the person is completely closed off in their heart and they're not going to be able to hear you, then the words will be wasted and they will probably result in chaos, right? So consider that. Consider the timing. Is it the right timing? And is it okay for you, like, is it okay with the Creator for you to tell this person this? Or is this, you telling them this, going to interrupt some part of their process as well? So those are factors to consider. And if after all of that, you still feel like you need to talk and you need to have this confrontation, then pray right before and let the Spirit lead you, right? Surrender and just don't overthink it and just let the Spirit lead you. And when the moment strikes, when your intuition guides you, then say what you need to say. And hopefully everything goes well. But you got to let the chips fall where they may, right? And release your expectation on the result or how the conversation goes, right? Because it's not up to you. There may be a whole nother layer of work you have to do with this individual. Okay, well, I am about to eat some leftover ribeye that was marinated with honey and teriyaki and soy, and it was really, really good. So I'm going to eat the leftovers from that. I have some stir fry to go with it. I'm pretty excited about it. And I will see y'all tomorrow for our Secret Teachings of Jesus, our midnight sermon. Bye.